Yo, these are ghost stories that were told in Joe Rogan's podcast. The most scariest ghost stories in Joe Rogan podcast. Check it
These
out.
are 5 of the scariest ghost stories told on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. Starting with comedian Tom Papa, who caught a ghost in his home on a Nest camera. Tom explains to Joe Rogan that he recently got a Nest camera in his house. He thought it was cool because he could be across the United States and he would get alerts like when his dog would be walking around the house. But one day, while he was in Denver, he got an alert from Nest, and what he saw on the camera was horrifying.
What do you
I
see?
get another alert, and then this comes up.
Oh, it's like a translucent like figure.
Oh yeah, you can see it up there.
The heck?
Okay, that's a man with a wrench.
That's a man with a
Yeah,
wrench.
or a man in a trench coat with an Uzi.
Joe asks Tom if maybe it was just a person, but Tom ensures that there was only one person in the house at the time, and that was his wife. Then Joe asks
Damn.
Tom if he has any
Yo,
other
his wife's on the
paranormal
wall,
experience.
and this is happening, like legit. Like, imagine you went traveling and you left your wife, and like you get an alert like this, and the only person you know is in the house is your wife. Like that would be very that would terrify me.
That
That's
could
actually creepy.
validate
What the
what
heck?
he captured on his Nest camera.
Everybody in the house has had a little something.
Is your house old?
It's not old,
How old
but
is
like
it?
poltergeist.
Right, it's
check
over,
this.
over an Indian burial ground.
You never know.
Dun, dun,
Whoa.
dun.
You never know.
Then Tom shows Joe a video from the same Nest camera in his house.
Look at this video in the same office from the Nest.
You got a video? Let me see what's going on.
Eve Online on Mac.
A little commercial break. Never hurt anybody.
What am I looking at here?
Did the thing move?
No.
Can you press play again?
Okay.
Same camera. What's that?
It's a bug, bro.
It's a bug?
100%. That's a bug.
How do you know that's a bug?
Because it's a bug. It's moving in
Look
front
how
of the
it's
camera. It
showing-
flies around.
It's doing loop-de-loops.
Dude.
Joe claims that the thing in the video was just a bug flying past the camera. Then Jamie pulls up the video from Tom and agrees with Joe, saying that it was just a bug.
There was
Oh, that's a bug.
It's a fucking bug, right? Thank you,
Jamie.
Jamie. Let's watch this. Let's watch this so everyone at home can laugh at how fucking crazy Tom Papa is. Here we go.
Well, if you first
Let's watch the bug.
Where's the bug?
Oh, look.
Oh
a
yeah,
fucking
a
bug.
flat,
That
a
is a
flat
bug. That is a
paper
bug.
Just
piece
shut
of
your mouth.
paper.
That's the bug.
Oh, all bugs look like a fortune cookie.
Dude, it's a bug.
It's a
Although
bug,
Tom
bro.
Papa is not 100% certain that he is dealing with a
It's going
ghost
really
in his
fast, so you
house,
can really
the
see the whole
same
body.
can't be said for Dan Aykroyd, who is confident his farmhouse in Canada is haunted. Dan Aykroyd initiates this conversation by mentioning how he spends a lot of time at his family's farm in Canada and briefly says that the farmhouse is haunted.
I'm there with my dad in Canada a lot, and we have the old family farm, but with the haunted farmhouse, and
Of course, this piques Joe Rogan's interest in the haunted farmhouse and asks Dan if it really is haunted.
well, let me say that there's residual energy from the people who've lived there in the past. So you hear footsteps and
farmhouse?
voices and creaks and doors closing and that, and many
I mean, that's
people have had
normal
experience.
because usually farmhouses are like made out of wood and stuff. Like, you know, the shack though where they put like all the horses and stuff, that's like all wood. Obviously, you're gonna hear some creaks and
Experiences in it, so
occasionally.
This sparks Joe Rogan to say that there is a reason why people don't want to live in a house where someone has been murdered. Dan interrupts Joe and tells him that nobody was murdered in that house, but certainly people have passed away. Dan doesn't go into much detail about what goes on in the farmhouse, but
Yo, is this true? Like I've looked this up online and I really wonder if it's true. Apparently, like if you had like let's say you had a brother, right? And your brother just passed away and like his room has been untouched or nothing has been moved. It's just been there, you know, in the house and no one really goes in it. Is it true that the spirit still remains in that room, that part of the house? Like I heard something about that on Reddit. Obviously, it's Reddit, so you shouldn't really trust it. But
he starts to talk about his
I mean, if
haunted
that's true.
house in Los Angeles that he recently sold.
when I sold our house in Los Angeles,
The comments
we
down
lived
below.
in Mama Cass's old estate on Woodrow Wilson Drive, and
No
we sold
shit.
it to Beverly D'Angelo, and she's been on the Celebrity Ghost Show talking about the spirits that were in that house.
Joe Rogan asks Dan what paranormal things were happening to her in the house, Dan says that
Scratching?
jewelry would move around on her and she would feel someone tapping her shoulder, but nobody would be there. Then Dan shares his own personal paranormal experiences in that Los Angeles home.
I had an experience one night where something got into bed with me. I was alone. And I don't know what went on there, but I just figured
I just got chills. Nah. I had an experience where like I was sleeping, right? And I was sleeping, so I I I don't know if I was like it's obviously sleep paralysis, but like I felt like I couldn't lay down. I felt like something was holding my head up, and I tried to lay down or force myself to like lay down to my pillow, but I couldn't because I felt like someone was like grabbing me by the head, right? And and I look and I just see like a dark figure face right in front of me, and I just completely panic. Obviously, it was sleep paralysis, but nah, the mind is strong. Like it'll make you think you see stuff that aren't even there.
Actually,
well, in my
a little bit. You fucked a ghost.
I think I was being come on to there, but anyway.
So you resisted?
Wanton. You know what? I just snuggled up next to it and went to sleep.
You spooned with it.
I did. I felt a shape. I looked and saw the depression. In the I saw the depression in the mattress, and I felt a shape, something next to me, like felt a form next to me, and I nuggled. No, not that night. I was working on a picture and went to bed early.
Then Dan Aykroyd claims that there were 2 spirits in the house, and he explained who those spirits were.
There were 2, yes, and there were 2 spirits that might have been there. Maybe Mama Cass herself, although she died in London, and then there was another guy that apparently, a rumor was he died of a drug overdose at a party, and they buried him in the hillside.
Oh.
And my daughter saw him walking with a little red-haired girl down the hall once, and you know, we think that he might have been there.
I don't know how people. I mean, obviously, money's the issue, but like, if I saw stuff like this in my house, I wouldn't really want to stay in my house anymore. Like, I'll look for like the newest place to move in, a cheaper place, or even one that's the same price, but like, or at least stay in a hotel for a week, cause I can't with that creepy stuff. Like legit, if I can't even go to sleep like that, cause like I'll just be thinking, oh, what if this attacks me and stuff.
When Dan started to talk about the legality of declaring that they experienced paranormal activity in the house before listing it for sale. A few minutes later, Joe asks Dan to explain again what happened when he felt a ghost get in bed with him.
So tell me about this thing. You're laying down in bed, so you're about to go to sleep.
I'm about to go to sleep, and
working
I feel,
on Dragnet, everything's good.
And I feel this depression. I feel this something. And
Are you asleep yet?
Not asleep. No. I just turned out the light, and I look and I see this depression, and then I go, well, what am I going to do about this? Am I going to leap up screaming? No. I rolled over and I just kind of snuggled up against it and went to sleep. And I slept like a baby. Slept like a baby.
Paranormal investigators and YouTubers Sam Goldback and Colby Brock sat down with Joe Rogan in January of 2023 and discussed some of their craziest paranormal.
Weren't these two like in a scandal or something? No, not in a scandal, but you know, YouTubers be exploring the Conjuring house from the Conjuring movie, and like the people who like own the house, who does like the touring of the house, they're known to like fake, you know, their encounters with ghosts, like talking to ghosts. They fake being psychics, basically.
Paranormal encounters, but the scariest
and they even got
story.
caught, because I remember one thing is like the girl. There's like it's like a girl and a man, right? Usually the girl like makes stuff up, but the man like I don't know how to explain it, but they're just known to fake stuff.
They told was about their first paranormal incident while investigating the Queen Mary in Long Beach, California. The story starts off by Sam telling Joe Rogan that before they started investigating haunted places, they would explore abandoned places. Sam nor Colby were not believers in the paranormal, but one of their friends sent them an article that one of the most haunted rooms in the Queen Mary would be open to the public. Sam and Colby thought this would be a fun video to film, so they booked the room.
But there's this one room, B340, that hadn't been open for 30 years, and allegedly they closed it down because there's multiple unexplained murders and or suicides in that room. And we're like, whoa, like, you know, if this is the first week this is open after 30 years, this is going to be an amazing like story to tell, or, you know, video to film.
When the YouTubers first arrived at the Queen Mary, they toured the whole entire ship and the supposed haunted room, and they weren't experiencing anything paranormal.
This is supposed to be the big wig, like, why can't we get something to happen? And so It was 4 o'clock in the morning at this time. We've been trying for hours of just sitting in circles, like asking out.
And we
saying,
didn't
like,
have any equipment at this time. This is like the first place we ever went to, so we were just like meandering like the hallways, being like, "Is anything here?"
Yeah, like just trying to get something to happen on camera, and nothing was happening. And so we're like, fine, I guess. Let's do this. Let's just like leave. Like it's fun to tell the story.
And as soon as you leave, something happens.
But just as the YouTubers were about to leave the Queen Mary, they finally encountered something paranormal.
Like start walking towards the door, and as soon as we turn, like actually we're about to like get out of the room, the faucet turns on like full blast for 4 seconds, and then turns back off, and we all like actually like freeze and freak out. 2 of our roommates that were there at the time like just immediately started like crying. We ran in. We were like, okay, how was that actually possible at all? Maybe that's a sign of like it doesn't want to be filmed and it doesn't want us to leave. So maybe let's just not film this and try one more time.
The YouTubers turned off all of their cameras and tried to see if they could communicate with any ghosts that may be in the room. Sam, Colby, and their 2 friends turned off the lights, sat in a circle, and started to ask out questions.
Like, is there anybody here?
Alright, so the one time you turn off the camera and you don't capture anything, you see stuff like so you're telling me you were recording, you got nothing, and then you turn it off, and then you started getting stuff. Okay, I'm a little spectacle on that.
Hear a knock, and so we're like, okay, maybe that's something.
Very faint though. It was like a tap.
Like a tap, and so we're like, okay, let's just run with that. Can you tap more than once? And there was like 3 taps. We're like, okay, this is really weird.
Joe Rogan asked the YouTubers how loud they were asking these questions. He was curious if maybe someone else in a different room was hearing them and just playing a prank on them. Sam and Colby said that that was what they initially thought, so they started to experiment. They started off talking normally, but then they would whisper and ask a question and they would still get a response. They then started to ask the ghost yes or no questions, asking it to knock once for yes and knock twice for no. They state that they had a yes or no conversation with the ghost for 35 minutes. Then they tried to trick the ghost.
And so we had this conversation back and forth, and we tried to trick it. Like we would ask questions in different manners, like, okay, is there more than one of you? Yes. And then we'd say, are you alone? And it would say no. Back and forth, trying to get this thing, and the story kept straight the entire time. And we were like, okay, come on, there could be someone like screwing with us. This is like on the news of being like haunted place. Like, what's going on?
Well, what was crazy about it too is all the knocks, they weren't just coming from one section. That would make sense if like maybe something outside was like tapping. These knocks would be like below us and then above us to our sides. Some would be louder than other ones. We went out to the hallway a couple times and we realized that we were like the last room besides like this like utility room to our left.
Fast forward to the end of the YouTuber's stay. They wanted to ask the ghost something deeper, so they decided to ask it a question about religion.
And I ask out, is there a heaven?
I think I know where this is going. If you don't know, if you ever, apparently, if you ever ask a ghost if there's a heaven, if there's a God, if they say no, then it's probably a demon. That's what they say. It's probably a demon trying to trick you. That's what they say. When I mean the people, the nice, fantastic people on Reddit.
As soon as the ghost knocked 3 times, the other 2 people with Sam and Colby immediately jumped up and said that they had to leave. Sam and Colby were confused, and their 2 friends said that they would tell them later, but they just had to leave the Queen Mary.
We got all the way to the car without anyone saying anything. And as soon as we got in the car, we're like, what's going on? Like, why do we have to leave? He's like, well, in the Christian religion, anything like demonic or evil is supposed to like basically disprove that there is a heaven in order, And so what they were saying is like, we don't think this is some like spirit or something paranormal there. We think it was something that was trying to lead you away from heaven or Christianity.
Demonic territory type thing.
Another avid paranormal investigator sat down with Joe Rogan in September of 2023 and discussed his time at the Conjuring House. Comedian Matt Rife told Joe Rogan that a massive hobby of his is ghost hunting. At first, Joe asks him if he had
Conjuring House, I don't even know if that's actually haunted, to be honest with you. Like, I know there's like footage and stuff, like pictures, from the Conjuring movies. Like when you finish the movie, it says based on a true story, and then they show you like evidence, like of the family that stay there. I don't know. This could be a lot of baloney.
Moment where he was 100% certain he was in the presence of a poltergeist. Matt Rife responded saying,
Still not 1,000%. I've definitely witnessed things that I cannot for the life of me explain that have creeped me out. The timing has been impeccable. I've seen things move that there's just no fucking way that they've moved. I've gotten answers back on EVPs, but for me, it is one of those things I do need to see it.
Matt and Joe then get into a discussion about the Conjuring franchise and how good those movies are. That prompts Matt Rife to talk about his time at the Conjuring house.
I will say I wasn't as scared as I've been in a lot of places we've been. There is some kind of solace to the house, but you get to know the history of it, and it does make sense that there'd be something here. I mean, it's on some ley lines of water underground. There was wars fought there. There's apparently bodies buried on the property, in the walls of the property structures and stuff. There's a lot of history that goes into it that just makes for kind of the perfect storm for some creepy shit. But I didn't witness anything that was that insane. Some items moved, some cars rolled off of the children's dressers a couple of times on cue.
Although Matt Rife didn't experience anything too paranormal at the Conjuring house, the same can't be said for Joe Rogan, who has experienced many paranormal things at the Comedy Store in California.
Have you guys ever been to the Comedy Store?
No, but we were trying to.
Yeah, listen, I can set that up. The Comedy Store is without a doubt. And in the 1950s, was it the 50s and the 60s? Is that what it was? But
Sorry, in the 40s, actually.
In the 40s? Yeah. But it's a famous old mob-run nightclub that Mitzi Shore took over in the 1970s. So the place has this feel to it. Like it's been run, as an entertainment venue for, 70 years or something crazy like that.
Joe Rogan then begins to tell some stories from the haunted Comedy Store.
Carl LeBeau, who recently passed away, Carl had the weirdest story. He got kicked out of his house. He got in a fight with his wife, and he got kicked out of his house, and he went to the Comedy Store and decided he was going to sleep on the stage in the main room. And he's like, man, I'm gonna fucking make it. I'm sleeping on this stage. She's gonna kick me out of the house, but one day I'll fucking show you. And so like he's drunk and he lays down on the stage, and then he hears a door shut. And the Comedy Store main room is pitch black, right? So this is what it looks like. But that's
damn. It's like them nightclubs type of. It's basically like a nightclub. Now that does. I can see how you can see like shadowy.
It's only when the lights are on. So he's laying down and he hears a door shut, and he goes, "Hey, it's Carl. It's me, Carl. Who is that?" And then he doesn't hear shit. And then he hears chairs move, and he hears like clink, clink,
sleeping in
clink, clink. Oh god. And he's sitting there. He's going, "What the fuck is going on?" And something grabs his ankle and pulls him off the stage and onto the floor. And then he hears chairs moving again, and bam, the door shuts and slams, and nothing else.
Anyways, these have been 5 of the scariest stories.
Nah, that's crazy. No, grabbed his ankle and moved him to the stage, and he was sleeping there too.
Stories told on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe.
Hey, yo, make sure you